Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're breaking down a highly critical, step-by-step emergency protocol, the terrain avoidance procedure for the Bombardier Q400 during a wind shear encounter on final approach. You know, when the ground is rushing up at you, there's absolutely no time to think. There's literally only time to execute. So our goal today is to help you memorize this exact flow effortlessly so it becomes pure muscle memory. Let's get right into it.
Here's our roadmap for the procedure. 1. The wind shear threat. 2. Initial go-around actions. 3. Securing positive climb. 4. Case 1, which is when you're still descending. 5. Climbing away safely. And 6. Clear of terrain actions.
Before we dive into the technical steps, we have to lock in our two key players on the flight deck. In the Bombardier Q400, every emergency procedure is a highly choreographed dance between the pilot monitoring, whose job is to observe, verify, and call out the data, and the pilot flying, who's actually executing the physical maneuvers. Understanding this dual perspective communication loop is your very first trick to memorizing the entire sequence.
Okay, Section 1, the wind shear threat and our initial trigger.
Imagine you're on final approach. Everything feels completely routine, until suddenly your radio altimeter reading reduces drastically. When you're already low to the ground, this dramatic drop is your immediate, unmistakable trigger. A wind shear is pushing your Q400 down, and you are running out of altitude, fast.
The second that altimeter drops, the pilot monitoring has to instantly break the silence. The exact required call-out is terrain closing. This isn't just a casual observation, right? It's a sharp, authoritative command that instantly shifts the cockpit from standard approach mode into emergency avoidance mode. Moving right along to Section 2, initial go-around actions for an immediate escape.
Hearing that warning, the pilot flying immediately fires back with a precise verbal command. Go around, check power, flat 15. Seriously, say it out loud to yourself right now. Go around, check power, flat 15. This specific phrase initiates the escape rhythm. It tells the pilot monitoring exactly what configuration is needed to power out of that rapid descent.
Simultaneously with that call-out, the pilot flying is executing physical inputs. To memorize these effortlessly, just use what we call the rule of threes: button, power, pitch. First, you hit the go-around button. Second, aggressively push the power levers to the rating detent. Third, pitch up exactly 10 degrees for the go-around attitude and rigidly maintain wings level. Remember, button, power, pitch. Lock that directly into your muscle memory.
Meanwhile, the pilot monitoring doesn't just sit back. They initiate a crucial mental verification loop to make sure the Q400 is perfectly configured for maximum performance. Here's another quick tip to remember the PM's job: the check, ensure, verify sequence. Check the condition levers are set to max. Ensure the flaps are actually at 15. And verify that NTO, normal takeoff power, is displayed on the engine display.
Once that verification loop is complete and everything is in the green, the pilot monitoring confirms the aircraft's configuration with one definitive callout: power set. This closes the loop on the initial reaction phase. The engines are roaring and the Q400 is configured to climb out of danger.
Which brings us to Section 3, securing positive climb and establishing that cockpit rhythm.
What follows is a rapid ping-pong communication sequence to clean up the aircraft and dump that excess drag. It's a strict 4-beat rhythm. The PM observes a positive rate of climb and calls positive rate. The PF immediately fires back gear up. The PM selects the landing gear lever up. And finally, when the landing gear is fully retracted and the lights are out, the PM confirms with gear up, no lights. Memorize this sequence as one fluid motion.
We keep climbing, and hitting 400 feet is our first really major milestone in this procedure. At this altitude, the pilot monitoring calls out 400. In response, the pilot flying commands heading Alt-SEL. This confirms we've secured a safe initial margin and we're safely transitioning into standard missed approach navigation profiles.
But what if things go sideways? Section 4, Case 1, dealing with a scenario where you are still descending due to a severe wind shear.
Yeah, if you hit Case 1 and the aircraft is still sinking despite your textbook initial go-around actions, we have to dramatically shift our strategy. You aren't just doing a go-around anymore, you are quite literally fighting for the aircraft.
In this severe scenario, the pilot flying must execute 3 critical emergency recovery steps without a second of hesitation. First, advance the power levers straight to the firewall, if required. You need absolutely everything those engines can give you.
Second, aggressively increase the pitch attitude sufficiently to arrest the descent. And third, while pitching up, you must carefully monitor your speed to maintain airspeed above V2 or VGA. A great memory trick for this is max power, arrest descent, guard speed.
Now, here's a massive point of failure to watch out for. When you're pulling back hard to avoid terrain, there's a serious risk of stalling. If the stick shaker occurs, or the airspeed tape turns red because you're getting too slow, your instinct might be to just keep pulling back to get away from the ground. Absolutely do not do this. You must immediately reduce your pitch attitude just enough to silence the shaker. Once it's silenced, then you adjust your pitch to return to your safe speed of V2 or VGA. Remember, silence first, then recover.
Let's look at Section 5, Climbing Away Safely and Altitude Monitoring.
During this climb, the division of labor between the two pilots is incredibly clear. The pilot flying focuses strictly on continuing the climb as required to reach a safe altitude. Meanwhile, the pilot monitoring keeps their eyes glued to the instruments, continuously checking both the radio altitude and the barometric altitude. When the altimeter hits the next major benchmark, the PM announces it aloud. Altitude, passing 800. This provides a steady, reassuring stream of data that gives the pilot flying crucial situational awareness.
Finally, Section 6, Clear of Terrain Actions, bringing us to the resolution phase. Once you are completely out of danger, the pilot flying scales back those aggressive emergency inputs to normalize the Q400 for standard flight. Systematically reduce power, relax the pitch attitude to whatever is appropriate for your current phase of flight, and reconfigure the aircraft as necessary. The crisis is managed.
And the procedure officially concludes with what I can only imagine is a massive sigh of relief. The pilot monitoring calls out clear of terrain. Immediately following this call-out, the PM gets on the radio and informs air traffic control of the deviation that occurred during the maneuver, ensuring the airspace around you remains safe and managed.
And that is the complete, exact procedure for a wind shear terrain avoidance event in the Bombardier Q400. Memorizing these exact roles from the rule of threes to the check, ensure, verify loop and that ping-pong cockpit rhythm ensures that when the ground is rushing up, your training just automatically takes over. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Are your cockpit communication rhythms sharp enough to execute this flawlessly from memory when seconds count? Review these steps, drill them with your crew, and stay safe out there. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.